grant applications and got some money from the state to come up with a longer-term solution. And that was a 2-year process, lots of public meetings, lots of contracting complications and so forth. But we finally got it built last summer, and there were 10 different locations in the park that we wanted to address for flooding and or fish habitat type of things. So what I wanted to do was walk up here to the head end of the park, and we'll look at the dike that we removed to try and reactivate the floodway. Then we'll come back here and talk about some of the stream issues. Then we'll go down to the parking lot area and look at some of the fish habitat. So,
is there ever any
valley slope that at all? Further to the north there, where the shrubs are, and then for a couple hundred feet north, there was a dike that we lowered. And what we wanted to do was help to reactivate this area back here, about 8 acres, for flooding. We wanted more flooding there. Now, the only thing that's not functioning as we would like here is that the shrubs haven't had a chance to regrow. We had to get equipment in there, so this little corridor was disturbed. So there's more water coming through here than what there will be in a few years. You know, hopefully it will grow back like this, except not with maple.
So are you planting?
On nectar plants and beautiful flowers and beautiful butterflies, but in their lives they need this a lot of requirements for their fantastic cycle, because they have this true circle. There's no beginning and no end to the butterflies because, well, I'll talk about the 4 stages, and I'll just pick somewhere to start, but I could have picked anywhere on the circle. The little teeny eggs. And then it gets over here on the surface of the leaves, starts eating the surface of the leaf, not the leaf. Because when it's that little, it isn't big enough yet. Its mouth parts are big enough to chomp right through the leaf. But as it grows, it starts munching on the leaves or the flowers, whatever part of the flower that particular species consumes. And then after the caterpillar sheds its clothes about 4 times, the last time it sheds its clothes, the outside shelter has a very special form called a chrysalis. So many people call it a cocoon. A cocoon belongs to a moth. Chrysalises it's a Greek word, belong to butterflies. So what happens is, when they shed that last soft outer clothing along with the helmet being the head capsule, and it's not clothing, but you know, it's a nice way to think about it, okay? They have a soft outer skin, protective skin. And what I don't think on the 20-year cycling of restoration in Greenough, they'll probably ever take this out. I wish they would have taken it out years ago, and I wish they would take it out tomorrow. But that probably won't happen because the public probably won't tolerate it at all. But this cute dark maple forest isn't even a good imitation of a maple forest back in my original home state of Pennsylvania. It doesn't have they have hundreds of thousands of scales. They're like shingle scales, okay? And no, but it appears to start the whole story. Monarch story quickly, and it's very, very phenomenal, and you don't even realize totally why it's phenomenal, probably. Okay, the monarchs are down in Mexico by the millions, right? They head northward. First thing they're doing in that journey, as soon as they get across the Gulf, for instance, is going to the only host plant they have. White, the margin white, likes to fly along forest edge. And then it actually wanders back into the forest, sometimes lands high in the trees. So the margin white would be a good suspect for hiding.
What is the name of the one that's like the orange?
Sarah Ornstead.
Sarah?
Sarah Ornstead. She's about, yeah, she's about like this, wingtip to wingtip. The male is white. So then it comes out at night and works on leaves. When it, and who does it belong to? It belongs to one of the swallowtail. Host plant, swallowtail caterpillar, and by the way, remember the bird drop? There's another relation. When it wasn't the fence for open space, it explicitly told the city that when we turn this property over to you, you must keep it in its natural state. In the 50s, Greenough put the city to court. Okay, they won the court battle because the city was not in that situation. So nowadays, why do we have a 20-year restoration plan? Because a court order is being honored.
So part of that, there's to go out all the
Yes, that's exactly. And it's a really hard story. You really need to, instead of get frustrated, hiring the greenhouse, and they're going through a lot of hard work because what is a lot easier? What's a lot easier to do proper services than what because there's a little bit of that new effort is done I say it in that
It's okay, ignore me. I'm just getting people.
Come on, guys. Come over here, look. Paint a picture, Jazz. Miles, you want to paint a picture? You can paint above. Here. Come here, on this side, honey. Oh. Above. Just paint above.
Maria wants to go play on the swing. Are you making a paint? Paint the butt.
These are pretty.
Thank you.
A little bit. She couldn't make it on the filling.
Did you see there's rabbits?
Where happened to your sticker?
Yeah,
This is in York.
Well, sometimes they go on to the next one, or they die out, and then those meats come back. It is very cyclical. Yeah, we have them all over hillsides here, but it's not going to ever get rid of them. But it is one of the more like a poster?
Look, a curly science lesson here. Go back. Let me run to the pickup, you guys. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. So go ahead. Hold that around. I'll be right back.
Yeah, it's probably the hybridized. Yeah, because the APR is more impressive, but it won't take over that much.
Well, that was going to come out of two. Maybe it's... What? You see it? Oh, don't open it up.
Oh, it's shaping up. Right. Darn nice. Yeah. It is pretty nice. How's Sue and all your crew? Say that, Sue and all the...
That's actually one of our more controllable. Actually, everything's just on that sheet. Try it. I think vinegar is non-selective.
Yeah, we went to 30 hours.
So that's a good way to combine it. It's a way of competing.
Oh, it's green.
We do. All the
I didn't say it. I think my son went through a stuff. He was on the trip. He also he was going in. So big, and they're made out of real tape. We sit back 6 or 8. We were for Christmas. They were the high school students. Irish
So it's very cyclical. 2 years you might think you're like under control. 2 years later, it's back.
Got to come back out in the sun.
I mean, you were there when the one fell over, right?
No.
You know,
Yeah, we're all set.
Okay, thank you.
I can do it.
Enthusiastically selling this.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
One night. Sissy, honey. Well, we've got that cutting. What's that?
So this is going to come back again.
I was lucky. I got some chocolate.
So are you design?
There was a park, but this was the second park. And I'd like to briefly tell you about my life. I was born in Iowa on October 25th, 1851. My father was a farmer, and he raised livestock and sold livestock. And when I turned 17, I left home because I wasn't interested in farming. I had a taste of what kind of work it was and knew that it didn't really produce much results. And I left home. And I was a husky lad, I remember. I wanted to be a Pony Express rider, I recall. But I went to work with railroad construction as a day laborer. And I also did some work in masonry and bridge building as a day laborer. But even though I had a lot of muscle and bone, I knew I had a head on my shoulders, and I wanted to use it. And in that day, one could get ahead, as I tried to do. Before I was of age, I had acquired my first railroad contract. And when I finished some bridge work with that, I had established a good little stake of money. In fact, I remember that contract was the first pay that I received outside of a day's pay. This was a step up for me as a contractor. Well, nonetheless, for the next 2 or 3 years, I went to New Mexico and Arizona, where I tried prospecting and tackling the mining business. That was a rough and wild frontier in the Southwest, and I got pretty well acquainted with gunplay and bad men. But an acquaintanceship with bad men and tarantulas and cacti and Apaches was about all that I stowed away to my credit in Arizona. In fact, that time I was busted all the time. It seemed like it was a chronic disease in that part of my life. I could tell you a posse comitatus, however they say that, those posses, if they, armed with a search warrant, found me, they couldn't have dug up 6 pits on me. Most of the time, that's all I had at that time in my life. If I recall, in 1878, I wandered up to the Black Hills and became involved in underground mining. It was then, 4 years later, that I acquired a contract with the Northern Pacific Railway, who was forging their way west across Montana. They had gone as far as Rosebud, 40 miles east of Miles City. And I acquired a contract to supply them with railroad ties for this entire state. That contract was a turning tide in my life. It turned the tide of my life financially. And with those profits, I came to this valley here in 1882 with my wife, Tennessee, or Tinny. We had married in '79 on Christmas Day. And when we moved here, we had a daughter, 3 years old, Stella. And with those profits from the railroad, I invested in mining, and I became involved in banking, and I did quite well. Things panned out richly for me. I was very fortunate, but I put in a lot of hard work, I should tell you. And with those profits, I began buying land here. 28 acres I eventually acquired on both sides of the creek. Well, as I recall, this town in '82 was yet to become a town. In fact, in '83, officially this town became incorporated as a town, and in 1885, it became incorporated as a city. I knew this town was rising in its importance, and that's one reason I moved here. I was recently interviewed by a reporter in Spokane, and this reporter asked me what my amusements and my pastime were, and I told him that about the only amusement I have is to be busy. Drinking and carousing have never appealed to me. I'm not very social in my instincts. Theater going has never appealed to me. And as far as music, I don't know Yankee Doodle from a Litz Rhapsody. In fiction, I don't really care to read fiction, although I do read the newspapers and the magazines for the general news. But I do have one amusement dear to my heart, and that is strolling these grounds. I have often said that the most pleasant times of my life were the times I spent here with my family and children, strolling these grounds, especially seeing the wonder in the eyes of my children and the excitement provided here in this natural setting. And if I wish Tinny were here with me right now, but she's busy. But I would like to say that if it wasn't for her, I may never have given this land to the city of Missoula. She did much to persuade me. Not that much, actually, but I was all in favor of giving this land, but it was really her who thought of the idea and encouraged me to do so. She's leading now a tour of the park. But I remember the year I gave this park, or the opinion I gave this land to the city in 1902. That was a year that another man of wealth gave something great to this city. Mr. Carnegie gave the city $12,500 to build your first library. And I wanted to be remembered, too, with my wealth, as giving something lasting and its benefit to our community, society. I'm delighted that, for the most part, the city has kept to the promise I made with them, that they must keep this park in a natural state, to have no destruction of natural characteristics, and not to allow any vandalism. But as you may know, I have concerns about this park, and I expressed them in a letter to the Missoulian. Basically, I would like to tell you, citizens of Missoula, that I paid and brought 3 of the best park men in the country, the best thinkers of how to develop a park and set aside parkland from back east. And they all 3 told me the same thing, that this land should be kept in a natural state and that nothing should be cut or trimmed. And all 3 of them told me this, though neither of them knew what the other had told me. Yet they all told me the same thing, to leave it in a natural condition. But I was concerned. In 1911, I wrote a letter explaining that I believed this menagerie of animals they had put at the entrance of the park, and they had been cutting and trimming far too much. And I threatened that I would see that this land reverts to my heirs if they didn't stick to their promises. Well, I think today they know well of my intentions, and I hope you're enjoying the park as much as I do and did. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to let the music play again, but before that, I do have a question. I would like to find this out. I passed away but there was a bear apparently in that cage into the 1940s, if I'm not guessing incorrectly. I met some people here today that remember the bear in their childhood in the stone cage. Well, I can tell you, I certainly don't like that. I'm sure in all my mining and logging that I fathered more bears than I can count. The last thing I wanted to have is to have a bear here locked up and bothered by being kept in captivity. And I'm glad to believe here that the bears now, that you may see here, are just minding their own business and wandering freely. There were 3 bears in the park last week.
In my yard the other day, spent about 2 hours in the yard.
So you put your dog, your pet food away, and your bird feeders, and etc. And your garbage are bear proof.
Now I do.
Has he? Oh, good. They're just down here looking for greens now, this time of year, apparently. But you can find out about the bears from Mr. Jonkel down the creek. They have a bear exhibit there. But anyway, thank you for coming.
Did you live in your house the entire time that you were alive?
When I was in Missoula, I did, but I also spent much of my time in Spokane, where I had offices. Thunder! And with the crack of thunder, let us get back to the music. Yes, my name is Thomas Lockman Greenough. As far as I know today, it's Richie.